Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with the World Ablaze mod. And before we continue with this, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and you can hit that like button, all those good things. Oh, Eric has a question. Did I miss the question? Let me scrub back up there. Well, I know he was working on some video editing. I don't know if he... Okay, got a gift for me, right? Yeah, I figure that I will be looking at, or he's going to send me. I'm going to look at sometime later. Probably going to like it a lot. Well, Greenland and Iceland are two different things. Greenland used to be green. That's one thing. Now it's icy. But there's almost nobody lives here, and it's still a possession of Denmark. Where, yeah, Iceland, you know, the U.S. could take it, obviously, like what I was just saying. And I don't know how much the Icelanders would really care that much about it, but there's absolutely nothing they could do about it. But buying this... I don't know why Denmark has said no. Originally, it was Eisenhower, or the Eisenhower administration, whether it was President Eisenhower, you know, the general who conquers Germany in World War II, whether it was his idea or his administration's idea. They sort of they floated the idea of buying Iceland from Denmark. The main reason they were looking at doing that at the time was flying transatlantic wasn't really yet much of a thing. I mean, obviously the Germans had started, at least, I mean, there had been transatlantic flights prior to it. You know, there's the Pan American flights. Germany had the Condor that could take off from Germany and land in New York City. But those were sort of specialty aircraft. A lot of aircraft had to fly through Iceland Greenland, sorry. They just didn't have the range. Now, with the modern jet age, we just fly over it. So that's sort of why the proposal fades fairly quickly. And now Trump wants to get it back. And everybody was so anti it just because they're all, we hate Orange Man. Orange Man bad. Whatever Orange Man says it's Tuesday. No, it must be Wednesday. Whatever Orange Man says is bad. I get you don't like the Orange Man. Fine, but not every single thing he does in the world is bad. A broken clock once a day, or actually twice a day, is correct. Okay, so even if you hate Trump, once in a while he has to be correct, even if you hate him. Please, people, you have Trump derangement syndrome just because of that. I don't know what Iceland... I mean, sorry, I keep saying Iceland. What Denmark really thinks it could or should get out of Greenland for itself. Because, again, it cannot, you know, exercise control over it. It doesn't have enough naval or air forces or ground forces. Now, it does have a navy, an air force, and an army, unlike Iceland. Denmark does have those. But it doesn't have the ability to defend Greenland. It cannot even defend the waters like from Russian trawlers or Russian submarines under the ice or anything up in the north. And so if they're like thinking, oh my God, there might be oil up there someday and we could become rich, well, you're going to have, you know, maybe not so much down here, but if you're looking up at the polar stuff, you know... I'm sorry, weak European countries, that's most of you. You live, your country continues to exist purely because America says it's all right, you get to exist. I mean, and that's not all, you know, Britain and France, they can defend themselves. Germany can defend themselves, yeah. But Denmark, the Netherlands, You know, Germany might just decide to, do tank maneuvers again and accidentally invade Denmark and go, oh, or the Netherlands, and go, oh, sorry, yeah, I guess we'll just stay. I mean, you have no real ability to defend yourself. Now, I know NATO exists and they're part of it, and they do have armies, yes, but it's really because of America. Places like the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, they even exist. Now, Sweden, it's strong enough to defend itself, more or less. But a lot of the weak European countries, they only exist because the U.S. says they do. And then they all act like, oh my God, the U.S. is being bad. What? You only exist. Artillery pieces. They're modern artillery pieces. The Panzerhaubitze 2000. They go, hey, does anybody want to buy these? Can we sell them to somebody? I think they ended up renting a few to Canada to go, for Canada's operations in Afghanistan. They were literally trying to sell half their artillery pieces a few years ago for the Netherlands. And Norway, does Norway for its size? Well, Norway's huge. I mean, this is a bit of a Mercator projection that distorts things, but Norway is pretty damn big. Now it's pretty damn unlived in most parts of it, but really, you really think you could keep Putin from taking just some bits and pieces of it if it wants to? Or its size, population size. Okay, yeah. Okay, I'm not saying, yeah, but see, that's the point. Is, Sweden could organize itself up and invade and take Norway if it wanted to. Okay? Norway is not going to defend itself successfully against Sweden. Norway cannot defend its territorial, like fishing rights or if there's any oil up here or something, rights from anybody, like the North Sea oil here rights. Britain can come in and go, sorry, that's ours now. The British Royal Navy is going to patrol along here, and if you come out and mess with us, we're going to do airstrikes against you. Norway cannot defend itself. It just can't. It's because of the U.S. hegemony that we have over Western Europe, and I get that the Europeans resent the hell out of Americans because of it, and then they can complain that, well, we don't do climate accords. Yeah, Germany and your climate fucking accords. You go enforce those climate rules that you want on India or China. Okay, Germany, France, Britain, whoever wants climate freaking accords. Yeah, you just go make these people comply. I want to see you make these people in here comply to your climate regulation. Japan is all on board because they want a clean environment. Absolutely. But, you can't. And this is what I'm saying is the world power structure is set up, and a lot of it exists just because. Now, see, here's another example. Yugoslavia. Why did Yugoslavia ever exist? Okay? This is something that people don't seem to, and I don't, I'm not just talking about you in chat here, I'm just talking people in general, don't fucking seem to understand. Why did Yugoslavia exist? Well, Serbia committed an act of terrorism and then killed millions upon millions of people in World War One. I mean, or that's the effect of it, not that they went out and did it. And for the rewarding of them, hey, thanks for following the channel. I do appreciate it. And rewarding them for being on the winning side in World War One, they got to form Yugoslavia. Now, Italy was also on the winning side, so it grabbed up Austrian territory. Austria, which was attacked at the beginning of World War One, which I take the real start of World War One is the killing of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. That's what I take as the true start. Now, the big battles, they start in August. I forget, what is it? March or something, April, I forget when Franz Ferdinand was attacked. Now it's 3-4 months later that the German, everybody starts shooting, really war were properly declared. But and so the Austrian Empire cannot be left to exist. So they want to diminish Austria. They want to diminish Hungary. What I think is the Treaty of Trianon or something, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's sort of with Hungary that sets its borders up. That, I'm over here. This here and this here is part of Czechoslovakia. And all this here, because Romania was on the winning side, it gets all of this territory, including bits of Russia over here, and part of this bit of Bulgaria here, because Bulgaria was on the losing side. So these borders were set by the winners of, World War One. Okay, not because Serbia can properly control all this territory, but because the borders were set by the winners of World War One. And Italy supported that very much so, because it wanted to, get its Austrian territories for itself. So yeah, it did the deal with Serbia and create Yugoslavia. Okay, well, come along to World War II. You start having countries, Germany, who's now occupying. Austria wants to get back, sort of this little bit here. That's mostly German speaking, sort of like that. Italy, of course, wants a coastline along here, primarily. Not that it wouldn't take some more internal stuff, but really it wants the coastline. Desperately wants that. Hungary wants back bits and pieces that are probably a bit more Hungarian. These kind of things here. Bulgaria would not so much want back. Maybe occupied it at some time, but wants sort of these people that speak basically the language. My understanding is Bulgarian. I mean, they call them Macedonians today, but they're really, I think, more Bulgarians. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm not an expert on this. But yeah, all these people want these bits and pieces of Yugoslavia. And so Yugoslavia sort of disappears. You get the formation of Croatia and Serbia, which is basically a German occupation zone. And all these different countries carve up bits and pieces off of Yugoslavia. Okay, World War II. Yugoslavia somehow, again, happens to end up on the winning side of World War II. And so they reform Yugoslavia, actually increase it, because Italy made the mistake of being on the losing side of World War II, so it lost all these little possessions here. And so Yugoslavia was recreated. Now, not because of the popular will of the Yugoslavian people, or the people in the territory there, but because of Tito being a rather successful military leader. Not that he conquered Yugoslavia, God no, but he was the only one that was viable as a military leader and army in there. And the Soviet Red Army coming in and saying, hey, this is Yugoslavia. Soviet Union says this is Yugoslavia, and Churchill is like, yeah, well, if you stay out of Greece, we'll acknowledge your occupation of Yugoslavia. Basically, that's why the Greeks were able to win their civil war with the communists, because more or less the Soviets stayed out because that was sort of a British zone, was Greece and that. So Yugoslavia survives only because of Soviet saying that they survive. Not because there's any national identity of Yugoslavia. I'm sure all the Serbians liked Greater Serbia, called Yugoslavia, but the country is not a true national identity. It is a state, not a nation. Serbia is a state. A nation. Croatia is, I guess, a nation. And so then as soon as you're getting to, almost as soon as you get the idea that there is no longer a Soviet protector for Yugoslavia, you get Slovenia deciding to, no, we're out. And then, well, you mean you get to come out? Well, okay, we're out. Croatia, gets out, and then Bosnia, and the whole thing breaks apart. Okay, so that shows that the only reason Yugoslavia got to exist was basically because Soviet Union said so. Now, Slovenia only exists because, well, Austria, Italy, and basically those two countries sort of kind of says you get to, because either one of them can walk in tomorrow and take Slovenia. It is not going to be able to defend itself. Now, Croatia is a bit bigger. Bosnia is a bit bigger, but yeah, they can't defend themselves if, say, Hungary really wants to take a few piece of land. They cannot defend themselves. Now, it would be a more bloody fight than Austria deciding to own Slovenia again, but it would not, it would not be something they get to do. So a lot of these European countries only really exist because people say so. Why does Bessarabia exist as some sort of pseudo country? Well, because the Soviet Union broke up and no one's quite comfortable with Romania getting the land back. Ukraine, who is it going to be? Ukrainian? Is it going to be Romanian? Who's, Kaliningrad, that's the wackiest thing up here. One's called Memel. That's still part of Mother Russia to this day in sort of military zone or whatever, because Russia wanted it and they didn't want to give it up. So that's why a lot of these things still sort of exist. It isn't because they can defend themselves. It's because greater powers say they do. What is everybody saying during this? Okay, been going through that. The Dutch and the Norse army, reasonable, not perfect, but hello, Nagaro. How you doing? Why is it 1940? There's still parts of Czechland around. Not quite sure what you're talking about. Oh, you're talking about here. This is Moravia and this is Bohemia as an occupation zone. The mod makers. This is not Czech. This is the Reich Commissariat of Bohemia and Moravia, occupied state here, if that's what you're talking about. Hey, John Beth. Well, international outrage. Are you not outraged by the death? Well, no, not death camps, I think mostly, but by the concentration camps and have I been banned yet on in China as Chinese overlords that control Google banned me yet for saying that there are concentration camps or outrage over occupation of Tibet by communist China? Did you buy your t-shirts made in China today? Or your other little BS whatever things? Yeah, you probably did. What about all this outrage? They occupy Tibet. They occupy out here. And they put people in concentration camps. Outrage. International outrage. What's Putin doing in Chechnya right around now? Sort of what up in here. Anybody outraged about Russian ongoing war in Ukraine. Anything about, we still haven't changed our maps to say that this is Russia yet. We still say this is Ukraine. How's your international outrage doing now? You know, that's the silliness with international outrage. Governments use it to justify their actions. So, what was I seeing? Oh, that's right. One of the actually rather good Twitter historians that put stuff talked about killing of Patrice Lumumba of the Belgian Congo by Western forces. He was a communist leader in Congo, supported the Soviet Union. He gets killed. Well, you know, in Cuba, demonstrations in Havana outside of the Belgian embassy. Do you freaking think the Cuban people were for 1 second outraged that Patrice Lumumba, hoping I'm pronouncing the last word right, is assassinated by somebody? I'm not right now sure. I'm not sure if we know so much, but maybe people working on behalf of the Belgians, maybe just General Western. Hell no. They were promoted by the communists. You think all of the people that used to march in West Germany, ban the bomb, ban the bomb. See, I'm old. Really wanted the nuclear weapons banned, damn it? No, they were, and records have since shown, because they've been exposed, that they were all paid. Not necessarily every person out there was given money, but the organizations that generated that outrage were supplied money by the Soviet Union. So I'm not saying every little protester holding a sign was given money to do that. I'm saying the organizations that bust people in from different parts of Germany or whatever to you know, in Hamburg or someplace have a demonstration. They weren't just like somebody opened the window and ban the bomb. Yeah, we should all go out in the street and march today. Ban the bomb. No, there was an organization that set up, and that money was paid for by the Soviet Union. All of in America this last year and continuing into this year and continuing into the Biden administration, all the disband the police marches in America and riots that are in America are all paid for by some person or organization. I don't know who. I know there's all kinds of things going around the internet, and probably somebody said every single, you know, one person has specified some group, so somebody has to be right. Just simply, you know, throwing darts on the board will get the correct answer. But I don't know what the correct answer is. Somebody's paying for it. They just don't all get up and do it. They cannot. It isn't spontaneous. That doesn't mean they don't generate the outrage and people don't work themselves up in being mad. But it's all done by whether state actors, governments, or NGOs, non-government organizations. And some NGOs are very, very political. They're not just all Doctors Without Borders to help poor people get medical treatment in the third world. Yeah, great, wonderful. You know, but they're not just all that. There are all kinds of NGOs. Sometimes they have a sort of a secondary political reason. Other times they're primarily. And so that's your international outrage. Because if you look at the level of, let's see, outrage in America that I can find over things like the Ukrainian Holodomor, while it was sort of going on down here, or the very few Jewish demonstrations against, this is before war starts with in Europe, maybe generally speaking, but definitely before the U.S. I've been saving all this stuff. The demonstrations that were done primarily by Jews against discrimination of Jews in America, and they're like 10 people standing with signs, okay? Or the Chinese demonstrations after some bombing of Japan. You know, this is before America's in it and woke and going after Japan. It's like 12 Chinese people and maybe 3 or 4 white people standing with signs. This is the photographic record that I have been able to accumulate of things like protesting against Chinese or Japanese atrocities in China. And they even may be people that were sort of poked by the Chinese embassy to get out there and do it. And when people watch the newsreels, eating their popcorn, because that's how you used to see this stuff, they might have been, wow, they shouldn't be bombing people in Shanghai like that. That's terrible. Somebody should write their congressman. Oh, when's the movie starting? Oh, 2 more minutes? Great. Let me eat some popcorn. And they're back to life. That's fucking international outrage. That's real, without real state actors putting real money behind it. It's all a lot of BS. And I've watched the Cold War. I'm watching what's going on today. All of these all of the stuff, for good or for bad, whether you like it or you dislike it, all the demonstrations going on in Europe now, pro-mask, anti-mask, whatever it is. Now, they're not all Putin. They're not all, the Yellow Vest movement. Yeah, those are French people that are outraged, but there is money and organization behind it. Now, it may be for the Yellow Vest movement was, I don't know if it's still being active, it was a lot of the trucking and farming industry organizations, maybe unions, I don't know. They were outraged because it was fuel taxes in France that were going to harm their jobs, okay? So there was organization, money behind it. I'm not trying to say all of this is like evil Putin or evil America doing it in the modern sense. It's organizations that are sometimes non-state, and they may be local to like France, but that is your international outrage, and they just use it. So yeah, I'm calling BS on real international outrage that would stop the U.S. from just taking Greenland. Now, I could see governments becoming outraged if tomorrow the U.S. invade Denmark and decides to line up against brick walls and shooting the remnants of the Danish army and just killing them all, and everybody going, oh my fucking God, we've got to create an anti-American NATO. I mean, they wouldn't maybe do anything over Denmark because that would be too late, but they would start building up and preparing to deal with America coming into their own country. Okay, but if America just says, like, yeah, Denmark, what are you going to do? Call your mommy? Who's that? America? If we just decide to, and we'll even do a good settlement. We'll give you, billions of dollars for it, because we want to have more control of, the Arctic Ocean up there. Arctic Sea, I guess it's more of a sea. It's not an ocean. But we want to control that more. We want to build, whatever, air bases or something. And yeah, we'll pay money for any of the Danish citizens who live here and who want to move back under Denmark. There's going to be no real outrage. We just this is, wilderness. We're taking it. Sorry, but we're taking it if we wanted to. Let me read what Nagaro was saying. Well, in all the world, Germans don't like the idea of become nuclear battlefield. Well, yeah, they don't want to be the nuclear battlefield. The feeling trends not to be part of the nuclear world. Weapon usage. If Canada joined America, imagine how much better the broad would look. I don't quite entirely get that, Stormtrooper. Yeah. Leave and subscribe. Thank you. You can join us on Discord. Yes, if you want to post the link to the Discord server, Nagaro, you can do so. You know how to go into the server and click up there, generate invite code. If you want to do that. people can join our Discord server. And so, yeah, it's, does sort of come down to political will. Okay, well, we're going to start sending... I guess let's just do it this way. Okay, well that will get us there. Okay, okay, this is this like colonial this is the fascist unit. Okay, you come down to here and you come down to Trieste. We're going to move you down to there just to sort of occupy our little island. Yes, very good, Martin. I did see you post there the other day. I think it was you. Oh, you're on your Chinese smartphone. Okay, no problem. I get you. Yeah, and it's things like that, your Chinese smartphone or whatever, that is really hard to avoid buying stuff from China. I'm not trying to blame, and Arno does it, very good. I am not trying to blame people for buying Chinese products just because we've allowed to China to become such a supplier of these products. I will not knowingly buy food from China, but it's more of a food safety issue than that. And if I was ever presented knowingly a choice between buying a Chinese product and a non-Chinese product, and even if as long as they're both affordable, I would buy the non-Chinese product if I knew, like, oh, these shoes are made in India and those shoes are made in China. I'll buy the Indian-made shoes. So long as they're both reasonably affordable. Even if it's a little more expensive, I would buy it. But just combination of ignorance, of a particular product where it's made or whatever. So I'm not like, hey, so all these people that want social justice and racial justice. There is slavery, literally slavery going on. And I don't mean just 5 people. I mean hundreds of thousands of people. There is slavery going on in China, and it's also slavery based on certain racial and ethnic groups, both racial and ethnic groups. Now, they're not black Africans, no, but they're the Uyghurs, as well as some other minority groups, including Tibetans. There's also there's slavery going on. Some of it is racial and ethnic based. Some of it is other based, but there's literally slavery going on for products that people buy in America. And they're all up in arms about Trump's racism, whatever that may be. He once threw some black people out of one of his apartment buildings. Well, he didn't, but his apartment manager did, and he didn't stop the apartment manager or whatever, supposed Trump's racism. Cantonese are Southern Chinese. I don't think, outside of sort of the Hong Kong issue, there really isn't, Cantonese are a type of Han Chinese. They speak Cantonese instead of Mandarin. Cantonese is, I think, a more complex language. At least I knew when I was taking Japanese in high school, I went to an international studies, sort of Pacific Rim, because we're in California here, kind of stuff that we had some language choices, and that's particularly why I went to it. I studied Japanese. Some students were studying Chinese, and some other students were studying Russian. You had to take, most everybody took those. A few people, I think, were still taking Spanish. So I took Japanese for my foreign language stuff. But the Chinese, they really talked that Cantonese was a more complex version of language, similar to Mandarin Chinese. But yeah, one of the big things about you is we don't get food exports from places like China. Very good. I bet you can't find high-tech product in my household without Chinese stuff inside of it. That's very likely. Now, some companies, or a lot of the tech companies, not all of them, but a lot of them are Taiwanese-based that have been moved a lot of their manufacture to China. Some of them because of Trump, though I'm sure they're going to go, now we don't have to keep moving it to India, because they had been moving some, and actually I think they've been moving it to Vietnam. been moving some of their manufacturing to Vietnam, because now that Biden's back in, it's China. So I don't know if you, and I didn't actually watch the clip, but within the last week or so, Biden said, well, you know, I can't really complain about other cultures and the way they work. That's just the way the Chinese are doing things with the concentration camps when asked about it. You know, he's totally excusing China for their concentration camps. So if you people don't think that it's back on board with Chinese slavery and racial whatever, you're gravely mistaken. It's now going full strength. You support that attack, and you support that attack. See if that helps. India is a slave world as well as China. I don't know. Now, I don't know what you're meaning by that, because I don't know of government slave camps in India. Now, I do know their caste system. So if you're just simply talking about the caste system, yeah, I find that rather unpleasant. But to the best of my understanding, it is not slavery. Hello, Beam Slam. And I'm not talking, I'm not talking about quote-unquote slavery of low-wage workers that are desperate for jobs and will take just any job they can get. I'm talking about actual people forced into camps, locked behind barbed wire, and at functionally gunpoint or at beatings and whippings told to do work without pay. I'm not talking just like third world employees that are getting, you know, near slave wages, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm not saying that's good, but that ain't slavery. Okay, there are significant differences. How about Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Finland form Northern Unionists? Well, I know somebody who wouldn't be object to that so long as it was called Norway and they were in charge. And then I'm sure there's some other people that would all... Yeah, there's almost... they should. If the world... If they were not protected by an international system... Because Finland couldn't probably survive because they lucked out in the Winter War. Had that been a summer war, they would have lost, even with all the purges. I mean, they also lucked out that the Soviet Union had the purges, both getting rid of good officers and making the other officers too scared to do anything on their own. And of course, lucked out that it happened in winter. So Finland lucks out. And it's sort of Soviet Union still fighting the Germans, them ending hostilities and turning around and fighting the Germans, and generally sort of NATO going, yeah, we promise we won't include Finland in NATO if you don't invade them either, keep them pseudo, you know, as a buffer state. That's the only reason Finland survives, in my opinion, to this day. You know, if Putin really had his shit together, he wants to get Finland back into the greater Russian Empire. So, and I know Finns are a different culture than the rest of Scandinavia, but, you know, and like nations like, you know, Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, they only survive because of Western protection. That's the only reason they survive to this day. They cannot defend themselves. So, and so like when I'm saying slavery, I'm meaning literal slavery, Nagaro. I'm not meaning metaphorically. I'm meaning literal. Now, they'd be able to take... There could be long-term guerrilla operations in Finland. But the Soviets could easily take all the major ports and go, they're ours. Yeah, they could. I don't know the reason for the... I don't know. I can speculate on Finland. Okay. This is a tale of two guys. One named Ribbentrop and one named Molotov. They get together in Moscow and start talking. While this is going on, there are, and I forget the names, there are three guys in Leningrad talking. One, a British admiral, again, I forget his name, another French diplomat, and a third, another member, though not the main, Molotov is the foreign minister of the Soviet Union, but some like deputy foreign minister or something like that of the Soviet Union are talking in Leningrad. These are both happening at the same exact time. I don't know if the Germans knew of the Leningrad talks because they sort of kind of come up and around. This is before World War II starts. I don't know if the Germans know of the Leningrad talks. I'm pretty damn sure. Well, I'm pretty sure the Western Allies did not know of the Molotov-Ribbentrop talks. But I may be wrong on that too. If somebody knows now or in the future, correct me below. I would really be interested. If somebody truly knows, not just speculates. So there's these two talks going on. France and Britain are realizing that Germany's becoming a problem, a real problem, and any new aggression is going to mean war. And they want to get old Russia on their side, even if it's politically controlled by the Soviet. And Stalin is like, or, through his representatives, like, well, okay, yeah, out. Don't know if they mention Finland, but they go, well, what about places like Latvia and Estonia and Lithuania? What about sort of some Polish territory? Would you have any serious objection if your new ally were to sort of kind of feel that Estonia should be there should be an Estonian Soviet and a Lithuanian Soviet and a Polish Soviet. Now, of course, all these Soviets would be part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Would you have any particular objection to that? They go, well, fuck yeah, they're countries. You can't just invade countries. We just want you to do the right thing and oppose Nazi aggressionism. This is why I really very much, if the Secret Services knew about the Moscow meetings or what was really going on there, if they did, they really didn't know what was being negotiated in the other place. And so Molotov and Ribbentrop are hanging out in Moscow, and they're going, well, what about? And Ribbentrop is going, well, yeah, Finland, that's in your sphere of influence. You get to sort of do what you want in Finland. Estonia, yeah, that's in your sphere of influence. Latvia, why is it looking so freaking... I don't know what they do in these damn state things, but does it really go that far in? I thought it would just go like to here. I don't know. Latvia, yeah, that's in... I guess it did. Yeah, I guess it did. Just looks sort of odd. Latvia, that's in your sphere of influence. Lithuania now, that's in ours. Okay. Poland, well, Poland. Let's see. We'll draw a line from right about, East Prussia here, right about, because some of this does sort of, I don't know, right about here, come down through, right about here, not this bit here, but this bit here, this side of the river, because we want sort of all Moscow, come down here, along this river, and at some point, probably around here, all that will be ours, on this side will be ours, and all this on this side will be your sphere of whatever, your sphere. You get to do with it whatever you will. You want to set up a Poland, an East Poland or something? Cool. You want to turn it into, empty land with no people? Cool. Whatever you want to do with it, cool. I don't think Bessarabia comes up in the Molotov-Ribbentrop thing. I don't know. I quite honestly, I don't know if Romania and Bessarabia come up. Germany is very much very much no, 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 no here. This is a no Soviet zone. No, 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 no. So it's there. I definitely know because once the Soviets get this, Germany sends in some divisions sitting in here. Even before really Barbarossa, is very much like yeah. If you come across this river, this is no zone time touching no touching zone down here. The Ploetzi no zone. So I don't know specifically about Romania. Now Germany had tried to get Romania into an alliance earlier, and Romania said fuck off. We're Latins. We like France and the West. We don't want to be under German or whatever control. Fuck off. Didn't work out well for them, but they said fuck off. So they could have sort of kept all their greater territory had they been on the winning side ultimately of the war. But even before the war starts, they definitely would have kept all their territory. They said fuck off. So these two gentlemen signed the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. Well, Germany, 2 weeks later, invades Poland. I know we're talking about Finland and whatnot, but in the Winter War invades. Well, Germany does really, really well in its invasion and sort of gets to this border. And they sort of have a parade over here along with the Soviets. There's some cool photos of a small joint military parade, some Soviet tanks, some I almost said American, but some German tanks in the parade. Yeah, nice little get together in Brest-Litovsk. And Germany just sort of stays here. With, I guess, some sort of communication. Hey, we'll work this out soon. Okay, then what they do is they get together and sign the 1940, I think this is the 1940 commercial agreement that again has some other protocols within it. Now, before the Soviet invasion of these two countries, Germany is saying, come ye all Germans, get the fuck out of these countries now, get out. And they get about, I would say about 70 to 80% of German-speaking people out of these two countries. They don't do that for Lithuania. Lithuania, no. Don't do that. Just for these countries. Get out now while you can. Well, the Soviet Union, with this commercial agreement here, was all this territory is going to stay in Germany's possession. We're swapping over Lithuania to being Soviet territory, the Soviet sphere. Now, after the Soviet invasion and occupation up here, there's a second move to get the last 20 plus or so percent of Germans out. Now, they don't get compensated money-wise like the earlier group does for their land. They just get refugeed out. Most of all these people are settled into this sort of part of Poland right in here. They settle these Eastern Germans there. Basically going, hey, that's a really nice farm you have there, Polish person. You better pack up real fast. Leave all the farming equipment there and everything fine. Pack your clothes up real fast. Get out. And so they have to refugee out and put Germans. Sometimes it's really, really pathetic. They're putting not all, but most of the Germans are sort of urbanite professionals in this part of the world of various types. Maybe blue-collar professionals, working men, but they're sort of urbanite types, most of them. Or there's landowners that are just sort of land managers, but not farmers. There are farmers too, and so you get people that have no skills at running farms. They've never run on a farm their life, given farmland and told to produce food for the Reich. It goes miserably. Okay, well, the Finns are definitely a more strategic, as you mentioned, the swamps and everything, problem. Now, since coming in here works so well, they think that they can, no, it's a little off, yeah. They think they can demand this little port area out here and to change to, not this whole area, but a little port, and change to this basic border. They think they can demand that. Basically this. And like the Romanians caved, they think the Finns will just cave. It shocks the hell out of them that the Finns really mean to defend their territory. That is why I think it happens in winter, is just because they didn't think it was going to be an issue. They thought the Finns would cave, and they don't. And because they realize if they don't fight, the next time they demand land somewhere else, no one's going to pay attention to them. So they immediately go in and get their asses kicked. Hope that is reasonably correct, and hope that explains the question. Let's see. Hope you, yes. War Thunder tomorrow. Are you leaving or something? Or I don't know. Girl. It's all unfair. Finland would allow German or Western Army into Leningrad. No, he did not fear that. Because he did not fear Germany, because Germany, part of the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact, said, Finland's yours, dude. Have fun with it. So he did not fear that. I think it was his idea. If you want ice cream pool, good to go. Yeah, one country going to have a generous day. Molotov Pact allowed Russia to keep Bessarabia in their sphere of influence. Okay, did it? I just don't specifically know, Ragar. The Finns second most industrialized, also good farmland. Yeah, so very much, I just did not know about Bessarabia. I definitely know the Germans that particularly here, but core Romania was a no-no zone for the Soviets. And so now it was pushed partially by the French, but very heavily by Churchill when he was First Lord of the Admiralty, of wanting to send forces to help Finland, but not the best idea for multiple reasons. Not the best idea. And I don't really think Stalin feared Britain and France occupying into Finland and threatening his nation at that time. After the war, when NATO, even before NATO's formed and whatnot, but he's worried about, after Germany collapses and American and British occupation of Western Europe, yeah, he's worried then, but he's not worried about it pre-war. This is more of just expansionism, I would say, from Soviet. There. Hello, Toastman. How you doing? Stalin took the Finns' northern part within the first days to block any Western landings if they should decide to come. Yeah, but that's only because the war is starting. And I don't know that they ever successfully take up here. I mean, maybe they do, but the Germans invest in, I don't know, is it Pestamo or is it Petsamo? Or I don't know how you break that word up. There's a nickel mine, nickel mining up there, at least was back then, that was rather important to Germany. And Germany invests in it, in expanding the production, and they're very concerned about protecting it from Soviet operation. Now, this is obviously coming after the Winter War, and sort of with the Winter War happening, the Finns fighting, Germany does not send any troops, but does allow various support elements in, I think some weapons and munitions and whatnot into Finland. Definitely the Swedes are putting in troops. Volunteers that formerly 5 minutes ago were in the Swedish army. Now, they were volunteers, truly, but yeah, that were going over. But they were allowing Swedes in. They're allowing Swedish trained personnel to go in and fight in Finland. So, yeah, Germany is very much after the Winter War, before the war with the Soviet Union starts, is investing in the nickel mines up here. because it becomes a yeah, yes, there's nickel and industry, yeah, up there, and so they're very worried. I don't think, again, I'm, guys, I'm not an expert on everything. I know a lot. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. I know that for sure. I don't think they actually ever occupy this area up here, but this is not really a viable invasion route for the Western powers. One, there's very, very little infrastructure. There is some, but there's very little. And two, you're getting awfully close to, Soviet air operations for, naval, Soviet air operations attack, shipping out into here and whatnot. We're landing over here in Narvik and coming across Sweden and down in through here. And the railway network, I think, sort of comes a little bit more this way. But coming in here, that's the viable way to get in without, with Germany closing things down here. That's the viable way in, is across Sweden. I think there is some railway come through here, but again, now it may only open parts of the year. I do understand that once, things going on and Germany controls up here, again, they're shipping out of some of the resources. I'm not really sure how much they're coming through here. Yes, they did. What was the Sonic fighters that Germany had? Not exactly sure. The big old ground, but modern Finnish army has 900,000 men on the books, both active. Yes. Oh, well, Finland, unlike a lot of nations, and notice when I was saying Russia can take Finland if it really wants to, but it's going to be a hard fight. They're one of the nations that, see, I was definitely on the idea that Sweden can defend itself, even from modern day Russia. And we're taking nukes off the table here. We're not going, because Russia has enough nukes to kill everybody in Sweden tomorrow if they really wanted to. Yeah, we know that. But if they're going to use conventional weapons, Russia, because of geography, because of military power, Sweden, and since the Cold War is over and Putin's become a serious thing, and they've rearmed themselves. Finland's never really dropped their conscription and whatnot. They are better, but they couldn't hold out without serious NATO type support. They just couldn't. I'm sorry, they couldn't. Now they're stronger than Ukraine. Yeah. And Russia could take Ukraine if it wanted to, but they are sort of worried about that international outrage, but more of governments and whatnot than people. Sweden has less men than Norway. Maybe. I don't know right offhand, but Sweden knows how to build tanks. Sweden knows how to build aircraft. Sweden knows how to build ships. Norway can't build tanks or aircraft. I don't know if they build ships. I just don't know. So Sweden has the ability to defend themselves much better. And Sweden has a larger population that if they might need to recruit up, some more divisions to invade Norway and take Norway. But they can do it. That it's, current Russia is more interested in North Pole resources than Sweden. Well, yeah, but how do I put this? And this is becoming a lecture session as things. When Artillery Commander Napoleon is outside Toulon, directing artillery pieces firing at British positions that the Royalists invite Britain into the main the main French naval base in the world is Toulon. The second one is Brest, up over here for you Americans who don't know where Brests are. No, I did pluralize that, I know. Get invited in one day. And they go, what? Yeah, okay. So they show up, and the Spanish show up and are holding it. Well, Napoleon is basically the person responsible. The single most responsible person for driving the British out of Toulon. But when he's there as a fervent revolutionary there, he is not dreaming or thinking of marching the French army to Moscow, okay? Now, of course, artillery commander Napoleon, eventually as Emperor of the French, Napoleon does so. Ambitions grow with success. Okay. Now, was Napoleon, when he's fighting the English at Toulon, and the Spaniards, and the French royalists, and the Neapolitan troops from down here, they were Bourbon troops, and maybe a few other random units that were sent into there. Was he thinking he was going to become the leader of France at that time? Or was that like a goal in his mind? I'm going to, become an excellent general and then take over France. He does so well here, then of course and I don't know all the details of his history, but then he's next, he's like given the army to go, hey, take over Italy, and that goes well, and he's doing really well, and he goes, hey, it would really help us to take over here, that then we would be able to trade with all these great cool places out here that the British deny us. So the directorate is like, yeah, Napoleon's scary. Yeah, you want to take your army and go to Egypt with it? Yeah, please, take your army and go to Egypt. Okay. And even if it costs us the French Navy, which it basically costs us the French Navy to get sunk by Nelson. So Napoleon's army is trapped in Egypt and can't get out. Eventually surrenders to the British, after a year or two or whatever it is. He eventually escapes out of Egypt once he sort of conquered Egypt. And he takes over, the French government. Coming back there. And he's able to do it without his loyal army he's abandoned back in Egypt. But, okay, so he takes over the government. He's not firmly in control of that government at first. Talleyrand, a few others. I mean, they've gotten rid of Robespierre long since, but the directorate is overthrown, and it's a coalition situation with Napoleon at the top of the coalition that's running France. Eventually, he is made emperor, and it's all him. It's no longer, his power base is not, coalitioned with anybody else. It's all him. Man, look at this AI is not defending the ports. Are they trying to get Britain to invade so then they could, destroy the force? I don't. But yeah, just noticing all the defenses against mean, evil Vichy France. But yeah, defending that, pesky coastline. Yeah. Okay, AI. Sorry. I'm jumping around from things. But yeah, so you have, Napoleon's ambitions become greater and greater until he leads his army to destruction in Moscow, not by an enemy army, but by enemy actions of destroying all food reserves and burning down most of Moscow. It was very much a wooden city. And then, of course, a very brutal winter sets in after that and destroys most of the Grande Armée is destroyed in that. I mean, I think it's less than 10% march back out. Now, he has lots of other armies around, but his beautiful Grande Armée is gone. So, yeah, ambitions go. So if, whether it's Putin or Putin's successor, somehow gets to control Norway, Finland, Sweden is now in danger because, hey, we're just the next stepping stone. So nations, militaries, and defense have to look long term. they have to kind of like, yeah, I hear you about Putin's more worried about now, today, resources up in the Arctic Sea. Okay, I agree. Then Sweden. But whether it's Putin or Putin's successor, if Finland falls, where's the next aggressive move? So Sweden is worried about this again, because when it was Yeltsin's Russia, you may have heard of Yeltsin, I don't know. Russia, it was Russia that just had lost a lot of territory. Belarus is sort of like, well, maybe we're going to go independent. Ukraine's definitely going independent. And Sweden disarmed considerably because the Cold War was over and there was no longer a threat. Now they're looking like, oh shit, he may be back again. And so Sweden has been up arming again. This was a few years ago I was looking at it. I don't know what it's doing now, but I'm sure it's not disarming now because it's worried about what Russia might do in years to come. And they want to be ready to maybe send a division or two to Finland if Russia's becoming too aggressive. Sweden builds a new... Yep, they're building some coastal vessels. Well, yeah, Sweden should build coastal vessels because they obviously are not a blue water nation. Norwegians have some light ships building. Cool, big bone. I did not know. I wasn't sure about it. I know the arms industry in Norway is almost non-existent nowadays, so they don't build like artillery pieces or tanks or anything like that. He was only captain, later brigade commander, Toulon, right? And guess he had no idea about ruling France. Yes. I know he was, yeah, that's why I was saying artillery commander. He was commanding a battery at parts of Toulon and then eventually moves up. But he is the single person most responsible for driving the British out, in my opinion. I didn't say he was the commander of all the forces here, but his actions of dislodging them. So I read, it's been years now, but I read the book. See, it's here on my shelf. Let me get the title correct. Where is it here? The Fall of Toulon by Bernard Ireland. I read the book of that, The Fall of Toulon, which recounts the British occupation and being pushed out of it. And it's told from the British perspective of Toulon. So he's, and he is the person that forces into several key of the forts that are outside of Toulon. And because those forts fall, it starts to make the whole defenses untenable. And I really do credit Napoleon for doing the drive to take those forts, because it's not a foregone conclusion that they would have fallen otherwise. Because the royalist forces the revolutionary forces weren't, they were building up strength. I'm not saying they would have held out forever, but it was no foregone conclusion that it was going to fall in those sort of time periods that they were talking. You need to keep in mind that Russia is a demographic crisis with a rapidly aging population. They still haven't fully recovered from World War II. Which limits their military capacity. Well, there's a lot of things limiting their military capacity. I would say economics is a bigger limitation, but I don't know. I look at that Armata program that Russians build these really new great tanks that then everybody eventually, and it's really pokes Germany into looking at something to replace Leopard 2 and also upgrading Leopard 2. Because Germany is like going, hey, yeah, Baltic states, this time Poland, we actually mean to defend you, not accidentally occupy you while we're claiming to defend you, because we really don't want Russian occupation here. We really don't want Russian heavy influence into our neighbor. I really do believe modern day Germany may not like the Polish government and the Polish policies, but they really mean to defend Poland from Russian aggression. But the Armata tanks become sort of like, everybody eventually realizes, those are just sort of a special production of a limited number of them. They're sticking with the good old T-80s and whatnot as their main tanks. Okay. So yeah, I say it's more economics and economics of maintaining large standing armies, economics of maintaining navies. The Russian Navy is nothing like the Soviet Navy was. I don't even know how many ships they can functionally get out of port in a ready to operate manner. Yeah, they can, do little Russian naval operations around the Black Sea and whatnot, but they ain't what they used to be. And so, yeah. Okay, guys, I think we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all. Hope I was entertaining. Accidentally occupy, yes. So, countries do that once in a while. What it was, I think Switzerland accidentally invaded Liechtenstein one day. I mean, just for a few hours, some of their military troops just went across the little border there. Or was it the Austrians invading Liechtenstein? I don't know. But something like that happened. Okay. Thanks, everyone. See you next time for more, yes, even more Hearts of Iron of some sort.